Hello, I'm Dave Workman of Workman Associates, and I'd like to continue our series of what we've been calling Cass County COVID Heroes. And today I have Paul Hartman, the superintendent of LMU. And I've had Paul on here for two reasons, actually. One is because even though he would probably not say that he's a hero, I think the people that work under him and LMU are heroes. And so, Paul, I don't know if everybody knows your background. If you can just take a few minutes or a minute or two, just to explain a little bit how you got to be superintendent of LMU.
I worked for the utilities since 1979.
Oh, okay.
So it's about 40 plus years. And I worked as a water and wastewater manager up until 2006. And then after that, Klaus was retiring. Klaus Hemberger, who was the superintendent ahead of me, he was retiring, and I went to the board and asked if I could be superintendent. Gave an interview, and here I am.
That's great. You know, it's interesting. I came in Logansport in 1988, and I had heard prior to that the problems with the electricity, the problems with the power, and boy, you just don't hear that anymore. I mean,
No, you really don't.
You don't hear that at all.
No.
And so I wanted to ask you some questions here. And as I said, Paul's a really busy guy, folks, but he was gracious enough to give us some time. But first of all, I would like to know COVID. COVID-19 has been horrible. It's going on now. Could you give us a little update on the COVID-19 policies and city building closures, Paul?
When we first had the state shutdown and everything was closed off and we couldn't go anywhere, we actually took our electric, water, and wastewater employees and rotated their shifts. We kept them as a team, and we would rotate their shifts about every other day so that we had as many people stay home as possible. In some places, that wasn't a possibility. The wastewater plant didn't have too much of an availability for that because we didn't have double people there.
Got it.
In the same way with the office women, we didn't have very many people to spare. But now, and we've been closed ever since mid-March. We have not opened up yet to people walking in and paying their bills. And just to give you an idea, that really means a lot to people. We have about 13,500 electric customers.
Wow.
We have about 7,300 customers in water and wastewater. Over 6,000 people generally come in and pay physically each month.
Wow, I had no idea.
And and for us to shut down, that really meant a lot to a lot of people, because we're one of the last utilities in the city that actually had an office to pay a bill at. We're the last ones. People have been getting a little upset that we haven't opened up yet, but there's a lot of opportunities for them to pay their bills other ways. If you go through their own bank, it's free. If you don't have a bank and you want to use a credit card, you can do that, but then you have to pay a $4 plus fee whenever you do that. We were planning on opening up on the 27th, which was last Monday, but we got news that the city building is going to be shut down starting Thursday. So we went ahead and just stayed closed.
So that makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot of sense.
We'll be closed through the month of August.
Through the month of August, Paul, is that what you said?
Yeah, at least. We don't know if it's going to get extended or not extended, but we'll be closed through the month of August at least.
Have these factors helped reduce any of your employees getting sick? Have any of the employees tested positive out of all your, how many employees are there at LMU?
We have 93 employees.
That many?
Yes. So far we have had no positive cases of COVID. So we're actually very lucky.
Wow. Well, it sounds like the things you've put in place though have had a big determinant on what has happened.
We've been trying to.
That's great. I had not realized that. I hadn't realized how many customers. I knew you're probably in the 80s, 90s, 93 now, and the fact that you guys have put in a structure that's really looking out, and it really looks out for the people coming in to pay the bills.
It is. And unfortunately, some people don't look at it that way, and they're taking advantage of the fact that we are down. And some of the people have just been letting their electric, water, and sewer and stormwater bills climb.
Wow.
And that's really going to be bad for them in the long run, because that
Sure.
money's going to have to be paid at some point. You have
Right.
used the service, and unfortunately, you have to pay it sometime.
Well, let me ask you a question here, Paul. What would you say the Mount Rushmore of your 40 years, like maybe the 4 biggest accomplishments you would think would be what you'd say over the last 40 years, 40 plus years of you working at LMU?
Um, the first one, right off the top of my head, is the change in the employees and how they feel about the utilities and how they feel about themselves.
Interesting.
That's one of the biggest things that you could ever ask for in a company, is to have the employees backing you up, caring about their job, and getting it done whether you tell them to or not. And that's pretty good to say when we have 2 separate unions that represent our line people and also our water and sewer people. We work real well together, and I feel like I've been able to build a relationship of trust, because they know that the same thing that applies to them, the same rule applies to me. That doesn't often happen, but
No.
it does. As far as accomplishments, I'll be honest with you, it really feeds off of what our employees and what the customers tell us that they want. They obviously wanted lower electric rates, and a year and a half ago, we were able to achieve a 10% reduction in our electric rates. And basically that took place in the commercial and the industrial side. The residences got a little bit of a rate increase or rate decrease, but by far and above, the industry stayed here and the commercial establishments stayed here, and they helped out.
That's great. I mean, quality up, prices down. You don't see that very many places.
No, you don't. The relationship that we have with the city is by far a lot better than it used to be at LMU. So you've noticed that I don't look at physical structures and physical jobs and physical products. It really relates to what LMU is to the community. And I really pride myself in the fact that if we have a big decision coming up, we get public input, and we demand public input, and we'll keep holding meetings until we get that input. It's not like a lot of governmental agencies that say, well, let's go ahead and get this rushed through and we don't have to worry about it. We really do care what our customers think, all the way up and down the line.
You know, Paul, that is so interesting in regards to the fact that LMU, which is a physical entity with the lines and with the plants, people and relationships that you talked about. That to me is really, as a small business owner myself, that to me that's a great answer. That's a great answer. Speaking of your people, would you like to give a shout out to any departments or managers or I guess all the employees as well?
Yes, I mean, all the employees, basically, I'm proud of them, and I hope they are proud of me. There's a few people that have left and retired from the utilities that I still have good relationships with, and I've learned a lot from. Luann Davis, that you've known for a long time, she was controller forever. I learned a lot from her. So there's just, and Klaus Hemberger was here. He was my boss for 30 some years. Everyone that has gone through, I mean, I've been here for 4 decades. I mean, that's a long time. And I'm set to retire at the end of March. So I'm looking forward to retirement, but I'll definitely miss the people, and I'll miss LMU as a whole. I'm going to stay in this community, and they can call on me anytime they want.
Good. Well, it's a humble man who's at the top that gives thanks to others for how that they got there.
If it wasn't for the people that work for LMU, I couldn't have any proud moments.
That is awesome. Let's talk about something that's near and dear to my heart. It seems like you guys are really quick when there's a problem. Do you guys track time, how long it takes an outage? Because what I have the LMU emergency number on my cell. I call it, they answer it, the problem gets taken care of, and then they call me back, which I think, which I think is great. The fact that they're checking up to see if whether in fact the people got taken care of. Do you guys keep track of how long it takes time to do things, or is that just something that you have to do it on a case-by-case basis?
You really have to do that on a case-by-case basis. Some storms are more vicious than others. Some of them happen in the wintertime, which are really horrendous. And some of them, just involve a few different people and in tree lines or branches that will take down an individual service. But we treat them the same as if we had a large power outage. We do definitely call people back, and most everybody enjoys that. Even if there's a water leak, or a main break or something like that, everybody knows what's going on. We have systems in place that we know where the outage is, whether it's electric or water, but it's nice for people to call in because we want to make sure that there isn't something special on our lines that they may not have power when everyone else does.
Interesting.
So it's very important that they call us and let us know that they're out of power. We will call you back, and we just want to make sure that you're taken care of. It's the same way if you need power and you are on oxygen. We may not be able to help you out when God puts some kind of a tornado in here or some kind of a high winds, but we'll definitely try to get to you first.
That's a great point. So what you're saying is that you try to target individuals that it's a matter of almost life and death, maybe life and death when there's oxygen or a medical device involved.
We try to. Sometimes we can accommodate that, and sometimes we can't.
Sure. How about the Melbourne Avenue project? How's that going?
That is a $30 million project that is funded by the state of Indiana.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
Yep, it's funded almost entirely by the state of Indiana. We have to pay it back over a 30-year process, which is why some of the stormwater and wastewater rates have increased recently to help pay for that. That's going smoothly. It should be completed October of next year, October of 2021.
Okay.
So unfortunately, I won't be here to see the end of it as superintendent, but I will be able to see the end of it.
That's been quite a project.
And we're also coordinating that with the bridge project and the project on West Market Street. Whenever they're closed, we want to make sure that we go across 3rd Street. It's going to take about 3 weeks for us to get across 3rd Street, which is State Road 17.
Sure.
And we wanted to make sure that we didn't have that interference when the bridge was being built.
I see. Well, that seems like such common sense, but I imagine that takes a lot of coordination.
It really does, because it's actually 3 different agencies.
Sure. That'd have been pretty bad if we'd had both those roads cut off.
Well, it would have been.
So is kind of a wrap up. It seems like you have really thanked the community and the community has come back, and you're always going to have some people complaining. I mean, that's just the way the games are played, but anything you'd like to say to the community at this point?
The only thing I would like to say is that I've appreciated their support over the last 40 years, and that may have been in kind words or in not so kind words. I appreciate the support, whether they think they're giving it to me or not. I definitely appreciate the communication. I've always tried to do the best I can for the customers, even when they don't think I am. But I appreciate the relationship.
Well, I appreciate your time here, Paul. I said I had you on for 2 reasons. One, to represent LMU as a Cass County COVID hero. And the second one is that you are in the top 5 of all-time COVID beards I've ever seen in my life over the last since March. Since I couldn't grow hair on my face if you put that Chia Pet stuff all over it. And so, top 5 beard of COVID beard, Paul, hands down, hands down.
Thank you very much, Dave.
So I will look forward to talking with you. I've appreciated our relationship, everything you've done, and I appreciate what you've done for the community because, you know, I'll go to other communities and they'll mention the fact that, you know, Logansport has a local hospital, don't they? Yeah, Logansport has a local utilities, don't they? So those are some things that are noticed throughout the state. So thanks so much, Paul. I hope you and yours are safe and healthy, and I look forward to when we can meet face to face.
That would be nice. Thank you very much.
Thank you.